Welcome to the Video Staying Inside podcast. Sorry, the Video Insiders podcast.
It's so strange, Carlos. I didn't know people that weren't dads could do dad jokes.
Well, I am a fur daddy.
Yeah,
so,
okay. Wow, fur daddy. I've not heard that one before.
Oh, really? You haven't heard that one? All right.
Yeah.
Don't go there. Don't go there. All right.
It's a great start to the podcast, people.
Exactly. So this is not a podcast about being furries. This is a podcast about the behind the scenes of YouTube and online creators, people who manage YouTube channels, who manage content libraries. Both Tom and I have been behind the scenes managing YouTube channels, optimizing creator channels for close to 8 years. So probably combined, we're at 15 or something like that. Yeah. And many billions of views under us. So that's us. Tom, how have you been?
Yeah, I've just been keep on keeping on. Just spending a lot of time on Zoom. And I heard that there was some kind of security problem with Zoom. So allegedly, don't sue us. So yeah, just a little bit concerned, but not too much. I don't really give away much secrets over Zoom, but we'll be looking into that. And I think they've actually had some changes since that all kind of came to light. Now people that come into my meetings have to sit in a waiting room, which is interesting, but probably for the best.
Yeah, the Zoom thing's been interesting. I went on my first sort of like client call recently that was like more than just 3 people. It was like 9 people. And I was like fascinated because up until now I've used Zoom for like one-on-one calls, maybe 3 calls, but like never big group. And I was quite impressed at the quality of it.
Yeah.
Also, like, I don't know about you, but our world right now, like anybody who works on the internet, all you do is manage chat and video apps. Like literally, that's all I do. Yeah. I am on Messenger, WhatsApp, Slack, Teams, and then Zoom, and then Google Hangouts. And then obviously, and Google Hangouts. And it's like crazy. This is the world we live in. Like I have clients that are just Google Hangouts, I have clients that are Zoom, I have clients that are Teams, and our clients that are obviously on Slack. The world of messaging on the web is bonkers. That's all I can say.
Yeah, well, me and you message through iMessage, but also sometimes WhatsApp, which kind of throws me off sometimes. Then I've also got messages that come through on my desktop from iMessage, so that also throws me off. And then we're emailing, and we've both got about 6 email addresses each, and that's just the conversations between us two. So you multiply that by like the million people that you speak to regularly, and it all gets pretty out of hand pretty quickly.
Yes. So obviously this is not This Week in Messengers. So we are the Video Insiders. Before we're going to have another interview show, obviously, but before we get into it, let's thank our founding sponsor, TubeBuddy. TubeBuddy is the ultimate tool to optimize your YouTube channel and get more views. We use and recommend TubeBuddies to all our clients. TubeBuddy, not TubeBuddies, to help manage their YouTube channels, to help optimize their YouTube channels. Often I like to talk about the tools that I use the most. Templates are amazing on TubeBuddy. I use templates to set up end cards, info cards, so that I don't have to think about it every single time. I don't have to go through the process of fixing every single video. Having a bulk tool that saves templates. It's not just one template, it's multiple templates. It's a great little tool for TubeBuddy that can be really useful. Tom, how can people sign up? Yeah,
you can get an exclusive Video Insiders multi-channel discount by visiting videoinsiders.fm/TubeBuddy. Thank you, TubeBuddy. Yeah, so today it's me at the interview helm, and I'm interviewing a industry stalwart, someone who I've known for many years, since my time back at the BBC. A really just top bloke, as well as really, really knowledgeable. This is an interview with Denis Crushell from Tubular. That's Tubular Labs and Tubular Insights, which is an amazing data tracking tool software. It does so much. Calling it a data tracking tool makes it sound just just like a kind of throwaway piece of software, but this is kind of like enterprise level, crazy stuff. If people always email me whether I'm consulting with them or just they know that I'm the person to ask. They're like, do you know any tools that can do this? And I'm like, well, there's Tubular and not much else really. It does really stand head and shoulders above the competition, and I've been lucky enough to work for a couple of companies that have had Tubular licenses. Another thing that Tubular are famous for is sharing their insights. So they always publish really cool stuff on their blogs. They've got a whole separate website, Tubular Insights, which is dedicated to sharing the findings that they have, and they always have some kind of presence at VidCon, stuff like that, where they talk about what's the latest trends in video, and these are always fascinating. And we've actually got some really fascinating stuff from Deniss coming up around the latest trends, especially in these crazy, what I now refer to them to my kids as like Corona times. So yeah, really interested to get into this, and me and Carlos will be back on the other side to wrap up the conversation. So this is me and Deniss. So today's guest is a good friend of mine, somebody who I've known now for, many years, at least 5-6 years since he came into the offices at the BBC to talk to us about his product, of which he's going to talk to more about today. So please give a warm Video Insiders welcome to Denis Crushell. Is that how I pronounce your name, Deniss?
Yeah, Denis Crushell, yeah.
From Tubular Labs, Tubular Insights. It's a pleasure to have you on, Deniss. Please give our audience, if they don't know you, if you're in the video industry, no doubt you've met Deniss. But just in case, please can you give our Video Insiders listeners a bit of insight into who you are, where your journey in career started in the video industry, and how you got to Tubular. I think you might be, from my research, one of the few ex-Googlers to be on the show, so that would be very interesting to get that story.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for the introduction. I think, my background, so I've worked at Tubular now for just over 4 years, and I'm our head of international MD here in London, so looking after the European and Asian markets. But my background, before Tubular Labs, I was at Google YouTube for just over 10 years, and I worked more on the search side of things with a lot of retail clients and stuff, and then moving more into YouTube over time. So before I left Google, I was head of YouTube sponsorship for EMEA, which was working with lots of YouTubers and media companies to look at like brand integrations, big media sponsorships at YouTube. So yeah, that's my background.
That's really interesting, actually. And I've got some more questions around sponsorships coming up just a little bit later. But also, it'd be really useful to have a quick recap for people that don't know. Again, I think most people will have heard of Tubular before, but it'd be really great to know a little bit more about the tool and the product itself and how it differs from its competition on the market.
Yeah, good question. So I think, Tubular Labs, we are an online video measurement company. So we have been, for the last 8 years, we have actually been measuring online video, and social video specifically. So YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch as well. So if you think of I think a lot of your guests will have used like a platform like Google Analytics. We basically are like Google Analytics for the entire of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, in terms of online video. So we help companies know what audiences are consuming to help them grow audiences, but as well to monetize audiences. So whether that is selling branded content, we work with the likes of Lad Bible, BuzzFeed, Vice, or whether it is your main income is kind of monetizing YouTube views. So people like BBC Studios or Viacom or others, helping them just get large audiences on the platform by really looking at like what content is working well, who are the biggest influencers, and yeah, that's what we do. In terms of the competition, we really are now positioning ourselves in terms of a measurement standard and looking at how big these audiences are. We've announced over the last few months where we've looked at new metrics like unique viewers and minutes watched for the first time ever. So where you can see these metrics. So in that side of things, we would really see ourselves kind of in the space of someone like a Nielsen, a ComScore, or a BARB in the UK, measuring more traditional media or websites, how big they are. We're part of this YouTube measurement program where YouTube gives us a lot of access to their data to measure it. And there's other companies on that. There's people like OpenSlate and Wizdio is another company. How we differ from them, OpenSlate very much focuses kind of on ad buying. And someone like Wizdio, I think, has an analytics platform kind of more for creator focus versus kind of media company focus. Yeah, so that's kind of how we differ.
Yeah, and I think it's really important to just double clarify that. I know you said you're similar to Google Analytics, but you actually provide analytics for all of the channels, not just the channel of the person whose account it is. So especially if you're looking at kind of industry-wide trends, competition analysis, Tubular is super powerful, like beyond powerful. And I've been lucky to work at companies that had Tubular tools and access, and it's mind-blowing the amount of access and the amount of information in there. So yeah, huge kudos to that. We'll come back to talking about the tools and the products a bit later, but what I really want to double down on at the moment is that last time I spoke to you, Deniss, was at VidCon London, and we've met at many VidCons here and far. And one thing that you can kind of set your watch by is that at any VidCon, you are going to present around the kind of YouTube trends and video viewing trends, and specifically in Europe, that being like your main market. Yeah. These are like must-attend sessions, and you always publish the report publicly as well, and we'll link to that. But I really want to dive into your latest report, which you presented and released back in February. I'm thinking it seems like it seems like a so long ago now. So that conference center where me and Deniss presented and spoke at is now an emergency medical hospital.
Crazy.
So, kind of crazy. And we will touch on some post-COVID trends as well a little bit later. I'd love to dive into that report, and as I say, we'll link to that so you can read through it as well at home. But I've got some kind of direct questions that I've kind of picked out.
Sounds good.
After diving into that, so I'd love to get your opinion on these. So I think the biggest kind of not that surprising, but the biggest kind of finding early on in the report, it says that YouTube is still the dominant platform when it comes to video viewing. But my question to you is there really any space for a true competitor to YouTube when it comes to video viewership? Like, will they ever be knocked off their perch? And if there was going to be a competitor, let's say it was Amazon or whoever it may be that you think is most likely, how long would it take to knock a juggernaut like YouTube off of that perch?
I think what's fascinating as well, where like my background, where I was at Google and everything, like seeing companies like I guess Vine, first of all, that Twitter bought, that was doing quite well. Then obviously Snapchat became quite big. Then we had Facebook really get very, very large back in 2016, I would say, end of 2015, 2016. I think YouTube has never been a fad. It's really just been growing and growing bigger and bigger over many years. And I think it never really will be a fad because it's really an entertainment hub versus social at its core, where I think things can be more faddy when it's kind of in trend that my friends are on there or my friends are not on there. People are going onto YouTube. They don't care if their friends are on there or not. They're just consuming entertainment. And I think what we're seeing actually with the COVID stuff is people's habits are changing so much. So like Joe Wicks, that body coach guy, is doing a PE class every day at the moment at 9 a.m. for people's kids. And like,
he's the only thing that's stopping me from turning into a whale at the moment.
Is he? That's good.
Doing that class with my kids in the morning.
Oh, that's brilliant. Which is like, which is like, I think people's habits are changing. Like, will people do more fitness videos at home, or like at least more people know now about like this amazing fitness content on YouTube, or whether it's food content or DIY content. I think some of the people in my extended family are like tuning into Netflix documentaries for the first time ever. And I think that habit will have changed after COVID-19.
Yeah, I think, that's another thing that, the talk around Tiger King is so inflated.
It's intense,
because everyone's at home.
Yeah.
I thought that Disney Plus would be the thing on everyone's lips, but to me, it might just be my bubble of people on my social networks, but Tiger King is definitely is winning in the meme wars, I would say.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And it's strange how certain things can bubble up like that. So unexpected. But I guess that's back to like with Netflix and YouTube, like there's so much content on there that like things bubble up and like the cream kind of comes to the top.
Yeah.
But I think back to the question about platforms, I think, yes, YouTube is a juggernaut. It's absolutely massive. I think we also see that Facebook, Instagram are very, very large, different kind of consumption patterns.
Yeah.
And then I think there's a lot of talk right now about TikTok for sure. And that's doing well. I think what's interesting in the report that we shared is like one thing that we shared in there was like minutes watched by age groups, and we have this for like YouTube and Facebook. And the biggest age buckets are 18 to 34-year-olds for consumption on YouTube and Facebook. So it's like over 50%. Well, like 13 to 17-year-olds was only 4%. So I do think maybe some of those audiences are going to places like TikTok or other younger platforms. But I think what's interesting is those younger platforms want to age up all the time as well, kind of like YouTube did 10, 15 years ago.
But I suppose this is a question for you, and I'm not sure if you have an answer, or it'd be interesting how your company's trying to broach it. But when you're talking about measurement for age groups and stuff, how do you deal with the fact that, most of the time when my kids are watching YouTube, they're watching it on my account, or they're watching it not logged in. And, so if someone looked at my viewing history, it'd be it'd be Joe Weeks every morning, but it'd also be, Horrid Henry or Ben 10 or whatever it would be. So how do you deal with that as a measurement company, knowing that not necessarily all activity is happening by the person who owns that account?
Yeah,
because surely that does skew the numbers to a certain extent.
Yeah, it does. I think looking at anyone who's meant to be on YouTube is meant to be like logged in account over 13 years of age, and your account consuming that content where your kids are viewing it or you're co-viewing it will report back that it's you, the parent. We're not looking at like trying to understand audiences under 13 years of age. But you will see in our data that it's like parents' accounts or devices consuming this content when a lot of the content is about kids' content. I think we were actually the first company, to our knowledge, to like start to split out like kids content or parent content. We have a content genre called kids content in our platform. Before that was something that was done. But I think now where we've seen the recent changes with YouTube, where they are now classifying kids content, and that whole piece is being better understood, those consumption levels, is good. I think it's more transparency into the industry of actually who is viewing this stuff, and making sure that there's appropriate advertisers around that content, and advertisers know who they're targeting as well. Yeah, which is important. Yeah,
really important. Yeah, because I've kind of been on my soapbox a number of times talking about how, like, when my kids are watching YouTube for years, they've been targeted like Visit Iceland or Turkish Airlines or Gillette, and it's it's like, well, my kids don't care because they're skipping them at the soonest possible opportunity, but that's Gillette's ad money and Turkish Airlines ad money, and Visit Iceland's ad money. That's pretty much just being lit on fire. But that's a whole nother conversation. That's just.
But I think and I used to always see that in the past, like where advertisers would be advertising on YouTube, and it'd be like targeting audiences and appear around gaming or kids content. This is when I was at Google, and like that always was going to have to be cleaned up or be more transparent or something. Is my point of view. Personal point of view.
You mentioned previously that YouTube was a juggernaut and still growing. In your report, it shows that Europe is still really a growth market despite it being kind of so mature. Do you think that Europe will kind of peak in the next few years in terms of consumption? Because, how much more can it grow before it reaches kind of full penetration in Europe? And outside of Europe, what are the kind of big geographical growth areas that you're seeing at Tubular?
I think it will continue to grow. I think I remember a few years ago there was like some studies I saw where like YouTube was about 5% of total minutes watched of TV. I think that was like about 5-6 years ago I saw that report. So I'm sure it's probably more like 10% or in between 10 or 15% or something now of like minutes watched. Even though it's hard to look at apples to apples, which is something that we've been working on with a lot of our clients. We have something called the Global Video Measurement Alliance, where we're working with Vice, BuzzFeed, Viacom, and other partners within that to like try and create these standards so you can measure TV like online video, such as minutes watched or unique viewers. But yes, I think it will continue to keep on growing once it's still at that small base as a total percentage. So, and I think in the report we showed that like different countries' views, not minutes watched, are growing anywhere between 10 to 25% depending on the country. And that's not minutes watched, which we know is even growing faster. Like YouTube have come out even, I think in the last year or two, to say minutes watched is like 50% growth year on year. I think that came out 2 years ago. So like there's probably greater growth in terms of minutes watched. And I think that will continue in these countries. I think countries that are like growing faster and stuff, I think countries like the Nordics, where broadband speeds are very, very high, maybe they're a little bit underserved with like local content. We see that it's even higher there for some of those countries. I think, in the Middle East, in Russia, those countries have become very, very big on YouTube from a consumption point of view. So it seems to be growing kind of all over. I think what's really interesting though in the report, one last point on that, is like we have a slide in here which we'll have the link afterwards, but like media companies year on year seem to be investing more in YouTube. So it seems that media companies are getting the economics to work a bit better for them, which is mostly ad driven. I think we're probably seeing as well, maybe some of these companies, media companies, look to do more direct ad sales as well and try to work with Google on that, particularly with all of the brand safety points that have been bubbling up over the last few years. But I do think the economics seem to be working a bit better for media companies. They're getting real scale there. And we're seeing that they're investing more content in YouTube. And if there's better quality content coming on there, there's no reason why those audiences won't even shift more. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes.
Yeah. No, because the report says that influencers kind of still dominate YouTube. So my question was, are media companies catching up? In my experience, and it might even be because I'm from that media world, I'm surprised that media companies don't have a bigger lion's share when you consider how easily they can look at their catalog and they might have a few 100,000 hours worth of content that they can publish, day after day after day, whereas an influencer has only a finite amount of time and resource to create new content. So I think media companies more and more, I still think that it's like some companies are still 5 years behind the curve, and they've got like hundreds of hours of materials sitting on a shelf somewhere gathering dust, where that could be on YouTube making them money, or at the very least they could be switching on Content ID for that and monetizing it that way. And through my consultancy business, I'm getting more and more calls from companies like that who are like, oh yeah, I can see that everyone else is on YouTube, like, can you help me put my 500 different documentaries on there? I'm like, yes, I can. And also through my distribution arm, where I'm going to people and saying, you've got all of this content, you're not doing anything with it, I can help you to do that, or you can just give it to me to put on YouTube, or at the very least, that there's like 100 versions of your full episodes on, and you should be making money from that. So, I'm surprised media companies aren't actually taking up more of a percentage of the pie, shall we say.
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating, your background, like at BBC Studios and Endemol, like the catalogs you guys had there, and a lot of the companies you work with today, when someone's got a big catalog, they can make the scale work to make some reasonable money from YouTube pretty immediately. I think it's harder maybe for the people who don't have that catalog. But I think what's fascinating from us when we're actually working with companies is like, what department does YouTube and Facebook sit in? So like if it sits in marketing, it's more about reaching those audiences. So they kind of go more all in. But if it's like just monetizing, it's usually slower steps to doing that. Which is fascinating for us with working with clients. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Because at the BBC, I sat in the marketing division, and then went to Endemol, where I sat in the, I suppose you would call it like the monetization or the distribution arm. Yeah, and the kind of aggressiveness in exploiting rights and monetizing assets as much as possible was, much higher on the agenda, and that, that really that showed through on the P&L pretty quickly. So really interesting, and but still so much opportunity with people. A lot of people are saying, I've got hundreds of hours, but they're sitting on tape somewhere in a warehouse. So I think that's another big opportunity.
And I think something that's happening in the industry, which is good, like looking at the likes of Channel 4 and ITV, like the guys at Channel 4 who we work with, they are smart around like kind of sitting in both, and it seems like ITV is doing that as well more, where it's like we spend a lot of money on Facebook and YouTube with ads, but then we also put content out there, and there should be a coordinated strategy for that, which I think is happening more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. My kind of push to media companies is always, well, you want to promote your new stuff, but it's easier to do when you've got an engaged organic audience. Yeah. So, you want to kind of give them the evergreen stuff in the off season. And then when it comes time to launch a new series of something, then you've got an army of fans and, a channel that's in the good books of YouTube's algorithm to be able to promote your new ad or your new live event or your new DVD box set, whatever it may be. Yeah. My next question now, I'm actually going to change a little bit. So I picked out some kind of trends that in terms of content genres that were working, in terms of like kids content and sport. But it seems like, and no, obviously not your fault and not Tubular's fault, that this, in the current climate, in the midst of the COVID pandemic, is that those trends are probably a little bit outdated. But I know that recently you released an updated report about what's been trending more recently, while people have kind of been globally locked down at home and more access to YouTube and other platforms. So I'd like to, if you can, just to share a bit. We'll link to that data as well. You can talk us about like what are the genres that are really popping now that people are at home.
Yeah, sounds good. I think, and since we did the VidCon report, a lot has changed over time since then. I guess looking at February and March, we actually looked at just a week in February, so February 23rd to February 29th, and then we looked at March 15th to 21st, and we looked at like how many videos are being uploaded And as well, we have a metric at Tubular that we look at called V7, which basically is like 7-day TV rating. It's like how many views did a video get on average from 7 days of upload, because we timestamp videos every day. So it gives all videos an equal opportunity to get the same amount of views to benchmark them. And we looked at this, for these weeks. So pre-COVID-19, kind of pre-early COVID-19, post-COVID-19, like really being this a global basis. The categories that we saw really kind of pop. From an uploads and views standpoint, the one that really stands out is health and fitness. Is like on an upload basis is up 76%, and on a views basis, every video is getting 59% more views on average than it was before COVID. I think we talked about, incredible. I think we talked about that Joe Wicks example. I think other ones, sports is a notable one that's down. Obviously, there's less content to be uploaded there, and less. It's interesting. The uploaded is like 40% down, but the views is only 15% down. So people are still consuming it, and like the catalog of all that content.
I think there's an opportunity there. I've worked with quite a few sports brands in the last few months, and a lot of their focus is on highlights from yesterday, highlights from last night, but they're sitting on catalogs of just a wealth of incredible moments, even like last year and 5 years ago, let alone in the last 30, 40 years. So I think it's a good time now to realize, let's get some evergreen stuff out there. I recently saw on Sunday just past that the official FA Cup channel was replaying an FA Cup final live, live streaming for Arsenal versus Hull, I think it was. I was there at the game. Just saying.
Oh, right, you're an Arsenal fan?
Yeah, I am. I'm a season ticket holder, which is currently sitting in front of me and totally worthless because there's no football. But I think it's giving people an opportunity to look at their back catalogue and say, what else can we do to feed this hunger, and what can we do with this back catalogue that's got huge value, but we sometimes don't have time to capitalize on it because we have to focus on what's the highlight that happened yesterday. And then I fully agree, and I think you're even seeing some of the sports guys as well look at like more behind the scenes and stuff. Can they still produce content that's not about the match? But I think other categories, kids and entertainment is up 30%. The other, fashion is up as well. Computers and technology, so lots of people are actually looking at computer videos and stuff. Interesting, cars and vehicles videos are up as well, so people are consuming more of that. But across the board, like on YouTube, it looks like just this random week that we picked before and after, it looks like viewership's up about 10% on average across YouTube just for that week. Yeah, and it will probably increase as more and more countries and major metropolitan cities kind of go into lockdown.
Yeah. And I think on the kids side, actually, from talking to some of the guys in the kids space, like it's interesting to hear that like they're looking to produce more education content, like fitness content, and what was the others? Just even something like there's a lot of like wash your hands videos, like nursery rhymes on YouTube. And they're like exploding at the moment, like 4 or 5x. So it's interesting to see how people are adapting to trying to produce content or get catalog content that is higher in demand now.
And what about live video? Because, I'm seeing obviously Joe Wicks, which we've spoken about, and there's a big kind of celebrity, quote unquote, Mylene Class, who is the famous pop artist, radio DJ, and a musician, and she's doing live music lessons. Like David Williams is releasing short stories every day on SoundCloud, more kind of appointment to view type stuff. Have you seen any increase on that, or is it kind of too early to tell?
Yeah, we have. We're currently creating a report around live consumption, and it's YouTube and YouTube and Twitch that we're looking at, and both are up I've seen some of the stats already. I know that Twitch was fascinating because even in our team meeting this week, I was asking people, everyone was talking about what they did over the weekend and talking about like, are they on Zoom, or Hangouts or House Party, the other app where people are like hanging out socially and stuff. Yeah. And someone was saying that they were on like a big quiz, like there was maybe 10,000 people on it for a Twitch live stream, and they were giving out like a big massive pub quiz. And
I was going to say, it's a shame that was it called IQ, that quiz that shut down. Could you imagine how much traction that would be getting right now?
Yeah, well, I read that that's actually come back. It came back, I think, this week or something.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, but we have seen that like usage for consumption of live increased massively on YouTube and Twitch. And it sounds like it's interesting in the Twitch side. It mightn't just be on the gaming side that we all think of when it comes to Twitch. But I know that we're releasing a report around that in the next week. So yes, for your listeners, go to our website. There's an Insights tab there where all of this stuff will be hosted on.
It's perfect, and we'll link to that Insights tab so you can find it. So I'd like to quickly get back to the product and the tool set. And there's so many different sides to that tool. And I remember when I was using it, we were kind of poking around and came up with interesting use cases that other people weren't necessarily using it for. So, we were using it to look at content ID opportunities and stuff like that. So I'd love to know what are some of the kind of big non-conventional use cases and success stories that you've seen over the last few years. I recently saw you published some news about some work you've been doing with Moonbug, stuff like that. So I'd love to hear more about weird and wonderful ways that people are using Tubular.
Yeah, good question. I think on the Content ID side, as a lot of your listeners will know how Content ID works, Tubular is kind of a great addition to that sometimes to pick up metadata where people are using metadata to talk about your IP. They mightn't have the IP in that video, or they might have snippets or trying to go around Content ID, but Tubular is a good way of trying to find that. But as well, for platforms where Content ID doesn't work as well, I don't think there is, maybe let's just say Twitter or Instagram or those platforms where you can do more kind of research like that. That's an interesting use case. I think something that the digital first guys have always kind of used our platform for is like, I want to find content that's trending as fast as possible, that's new. And they have done a great job over the years of like finding viral clips as fast as possible and kind of then either licensing that IP or maybe recreating the IP themselves. Yeah. Like I know there was a spider catcher video that Business Insider did a few years ago, and other partners of ours copied that video, but it was quite easy. It was just this kind of spider catcher thing that got millions upon millions of views. I think other interesting things some broadcasters are doing are like they're trying to find funny clips about their IP that fans have created and then uploading them themselves on their own pages or channels to get large audiences. What else are unusual use cases? I guess like identifying in the branded content space who is spending a lot of money in this space, and as well looking at like the people, whether that be influencers who actually are open to commercializing their audiences more than others. So some people type in like keywords like sponsored by, is sponsored, and we have a product called Dealmaker that picks this stuff up. But it's interesting to look at that as a use case. I think like real benchmarking, like for brands, looking at how much share of voice they have versus one another, and then trying to model that data with like point of sale purchases. I know we work with a lot of people in the toys space, and they do see a big correlation between volume of views on YouTube, whether that be UGC or owned and operated, with people actually buying product, and in the gaming space as well. So they're kind of interesting use cases, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really interested about your the kind of branded content, brand matching tool and services. And who does that ideally work for? Is it more for people that are looking for influencers to promote their stuff a kind of very specific question, and I'm glad you mentioned that you'd worked with sponsorships earlier on. Is I see a growing increase in interest that people are looking for kind of channel-wide sponsors because monetization, direct monetization becomes harder. Have you seen this service lead to like more channel-wide sponsorships? Because trying to think of like successful examples of that, it's hard for me to really think about anything long term. I know that Jamie Oliver had Drinks Tube that was sponsored by Bacardi.
Yeah.
And in a nutshell, I've got a Spanish language channel that's sponsored by a Spanish language brand. So I'm really fascinated in that. I'm getting more and more people asking about it, more and more people that want to, like, they've got no idea where to start. Does it work? Does your tool really help with something like that?
Yeah, I think, our product, which is called Dealmaker, like basically measures all of the links between sponsors and uploaders, whether that be a media company, an influencer, and we basically bring transparency to the whole market of like what's happening in that space. And yes, what really helps with the companies we work with is identify who is spending in the space, so they know already that like branded content works for them with partnering with people, and then it helps them to benchmark their performance versus others to bring it to people to make them aware. I think someone we work with, like News Corp, they've done a lot of work for like Gillette over the years with the Sun. And some of their performance is amazing, but they had no idea that like they had some of the best performance ever for partnerships for Gillette until we showed them. And then I would say, and so it really, like how we describe it, as we said, helps you prospect, pitch, and report. And there's a company that we work with called Jungle Creations, where they've gone on record to say that we've made them millions of pounds. Those guys are doing like more longer term partnerships with people like Bailey's and other brands. JB Boulding and the team over there do a great job of all of that. They're very big in the food space with brands such as Twisted and others. So yes, it does. I think on the influencer side, I think the influencer side seems to be booming, but it's interesting. It's like at one stage it looked like it was kind of going very Instagram focused, but then it's kind of come back to YouTube a bit more again. And it's fascinating to see always how much that influencer space is changing all the time.
Yeah, I think there's probably a bit of confidence knocked out of the Instagram influencer market with a lot of public controversy around like fake followers and paid for followers and stuff like that. Whereas YouTube generally, of course, there's paid for views and paid for followers, but I think it has less, it has a lot of bot detection and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Whereas Instagram probably has less interest in closing down kind of bot accounts and artificially inflated accounts, where YouTube, I think, can quite easily kind of detect and delete like views from bots and stuff like that. But who knows? I'm just getting nerdy. So what's kind of next for Tubular? Is there like some new features that are on the horizon that you're excited about? I don't know if you can talk about any of them or not, or if you've got some super...
well, I think one thing actually that's leading to this, but as well kind of you were saying on interesting use cases of Tubular, like where we work with some clients as well, where we give them like data feeds, and it's interesting to see kind of some of the products and stuff people are creating on their side via using an API like Tubular. Like I saw an example yesterday where someone has like a Slack bot created on their side where they can kind of just quickly ask for information about any influencer or media company, where else the audience spend time. I don't know if you remember that feature, Tom, but it looks at like where else my audience has spent time. Yeah. And that's cool to see like companies integrate Tubular data for hundreds of employees at a company via communication tools. And then I would say, yes, where we're going and everything. So I think that is interesting, like people using our data, mixing it with other data, such as like point of sale for toys or integrating into workflow products. Then I would say as well, a big initiative for us over the last year has been this Global Video Measurement Alliance, where we have worked with these partners in the Global Video Measurement Alliance And with that, like we now work with, how many companies is it? It's about 12. We work with like Brute, BuzzFeed, Discovery, Frida Media, Electric House, a UK company here, Mattel, Webedia. And we're working with them on like creating measurement standards for the industry. And what we're trying to do there is really create better and stronger economics of the marketplace of people investing in online video if you're an advertiser, but as well if you're a media company or influencer, making sure that you're able to tell people about the size of your audience. And that's something that we've been really focused on for the last year. And we're bringing out like very interesting data around that, around minutes watched, really kind of reach and frequency, if you think about like even how brands like to invest. So that's been something that we're very focused on, and we're excited about like bringing out more metrics around that, and really kind of creating a currency, just like the way you think of ComScore or Nielsen as a currency, Tubular having a currency where agencies and brands maybe use it more in like planning campaigns. So that's what we're very excited about at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that can only be more positive for anyone working in video, because it means that if advertisers have got more trust and faith in where their advertising dollars are going, they'll hopefully realize that it's a lot more effective than traditional, kind of analog TV advertising, print and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so a few more of those dollars will be moving the way of the digital publisher, digital creator. Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Deniss. Where can people hear more about you and Tubular? Where's the best place people can go? We'll link to all of the specific articles you've mentioned, but where would you like people to kind of get in touch with you or follow you?
Yeah, you can email me directly if you want, Deniss@tubularlabs.com. It's 1N, Deniss. But otherwise, I'd recommend, people go to our website, and there's a lot of research and insights we give out to the industry in general to help people, even if you're not working directly with us. But so I would say on our website, tubularlabs.com is a great place to visit. You can also sign up to our like free product there, where you can look at like how you rank versus others on a global capacity on YouTube and Facebook, or a leaderboard product. And so I would say our website, tubularlabs.com, or get in touch on email or LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on as well.
Cool. Thanks, Deniss. It's been absolutely fascinating, and look forward to hearing more from you. Always interested to hear your latest reports, and I'm sure they're going to be even more interesting and more important with the current situation in the world. So thanks a million, Deniss, and people, make sure you go and check out all of the incredible stuff that we'll be linking to in the show notes.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank
Deniss.
you very much, Tom. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
That was great, Tom. Tubular is one of those platforms that I remember jumping on many, many years ago when it launched, and being like, finally, somebody who's doing this, because the whole comparison of like Nielsen, ComScore, BARB, one of the biggest frustrations when I was in marketing is the lack of support for real digital tracking from these old school platforms, right? The Nielsen, the ComScores of this world. So, Tubular, I knew exactly what they were trying to do, and it's great to hear that they've established themselves as, the Nielsen of, YouTube in a way, and can give that, all those insights and information that, all of us that create video online crave for. We don't care about how much views ABC makes. We care about how many views TikTok does, how many views Facebook does. So there needed to be a specific video platform to serve that. Yeah, and the fact that he comes from Google and YouTube for many years, that he's got some serious credit and knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I've known Deniss for a number of years, and I didn't really know, obviously I'd done my research before the interview, but it was, it's not like I knew him as like an ex-YouTuber, ex-Googler, so that's really interesting to get that perspective. And and it makes sense, because he really does get creators, he gets publishers, and he just lives and breathes it. Is like so dedicated. It's so knowledgeable, and as I say, they're really generous with that data. Was there any kind of trending stuff from the reports, or from the kind of coronavirus type trends that surprised you, or was it all kind of standard?
I mean, from the Facebook, no, one of the comments that he made that was sort of like total, like, yes, I know that happens, is the whole like how these new platforms, the platforms that are quote unquote going viral, the TikToks of the world, they're all trying to age up.
Mm-hmm.
They're all trying to age up because let's face it, like, I think I've sort of like been on the soapbox before in previous episodes is, yes, you get scale, quote unquote scale from the kids, but that's not where you're going to make money. It's the same situation. You can compare it to what we're seeing right now with the whole, Corona apocalypse in a way, right? Yes, you get tons of views, but like money is nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
Yes. The whole fallacy of like, we need to target kids. Yes, there's certain brands, but there's a lot more brands out there that care about an older demographic with money, and older demographics with money are not spending, 2 hours a day on TikTok. They're spending that time on more established platforms. And that's why YouTube's done its best to clean its act up. And every platform's trying to do the best to clean its act up. But they all play the same game of like getting scale from kids, and then hopefully they last long enough to get that ingrained older audience to get into, to make real money. Yeah, that's the sort of point that was interesting. That, I love the fact that you sort of like confirmed my opinion. And also, like the minutes watched point about how, 18 to 34 on Facebook, YouTube represents 50% of the audience, whereas he mentioned 4%, 13 to 17, but I wasn't clear as to if it was Facebook or YouTube, because I would think YouTube still has a lot of that audience. The younger demographic has definitely dropped off Facebook. So again, those type of like, insights are very fun to sort of like pay attention to and put out there and make people realize that that's why, you don't make as much money in certain platforms versus others.
Sorry, I think the fact that Deniss and Tubular published this kind of what's the trend going to be soon report, and like sport was a big thing, and then, a month later, the whole world of professional sport is shut down, just shows you how quickly trends can change and how you just have to have your finger on the pulse absolutely constantly. And so that's why people like us are here, that's why people like Tubular Insights are here, and that's why you have tools like Tubular. So you have to have your finger on the pulse. And I've been lucky, as I say, to be able to have played with Tubular at a couple of companies, and it's one of those tools that's just so powerful. Like, you'll be working on it for months, and you'll just find a whole new section that you haven't even touched yet, and it's just like so valuable.
Yeah.
Having said that, Tubular is not cheap. It's not like a prosumer level model. It's really aimed at bigger media companies, more like enterprise software, but it packs some serious punch. And if you're lucky enough to get your hands on it, it can really, really be a game changer. So do reach out to Deniss if you feel that you kind of fit into that field, and we'll link to all of the links mentioned, all of the reports, all of the tools in today's show notes.
Yeah, I have to say I'm kind of jealous that you've had clients that have paid for that, because it is so pricey that not a lot of companies will pay that, unless you're a big broadcaster.
Yeah, it was. I was actually working for a couple of broadcasters at the time, so.
Yeah,
but
that's the fun part.
I think a tool like that, you have to look at it as an investment, not as a cost, because it does have a serious return on investment as well. It's not.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's not a sunk cost. Like, you're getting insights and making deals and all sorts that it pays for itself, definitely. So, thanks again, Deniss, and we're looking forward to the next report.
Thanks again, Deniss. Awesome. So before we cut out, obviously, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the show, we have over 30 episodes. By this time, we'll be close to 40 behind us, and they're all mostly evergreen. So you can go there and listen to them while you're at home, keeping safe. Obviously, if you enjoyed the show, give us a thumbs up, recommendation if you can. Before we go, a big thank you once again to TubeBuddy, which is the ultimate tool for managing and optimizing YouTube channels, YouTube networks. It really, really helps you grow your channel organically and gives you all the tips and tools needed to optimize your channel from A to Z. We have a special offer that Tom will describe.
Yeah, so you can get an exclusive multi-channel license discount by visiting videoinsiders.fm/TubeBuddy. Thank you, TubeBuddy.
Thank you, TubeBuddy. Take care, Tom. Stay safe.
Cheers, guys.